to Several People Are Watching. I'm your host, Jim. I am accompanied by my good friends, Will, Adam, and Brian. And we've decided to watch Wonder Woman 1984, go through maybe a bit of a summary, add some commentary, and kind of review the movie as a whole. So, guys, thank you for joining. I will, I guess I'll first ask, have you guys seen this in the last week or so, just to make sure everyone's kind of current on this movie? Has everyone seen it, and has everyone seen it kind of recently?
Yeah, we watched it a couple of days ago. We watched it in 2 segments, so that was nice for an hour, 2.5 hour movie.
Yeah, I was not expecting it to be that long. This was a long movie to sit through. Definitely was no JFK either. So, Will and Adam, you guys both have seen it recently enough. Do you remember it?
2 different questions.
All right, fair enough.
So yeah, I watched the first half with my wife on Christmas Day, and it's very telling that I watched the second half then today. So yeah, I'm pretty fresh on the overall movie.
Okay, and will you feel comfortable? You feel up to the task?
Yeah, I mean, so I watched it last Sunday, and I was very confident that would be the worst part of my week.
Okay.
Turns out U.S. politics had something else to say about that, but
Narrator voice. 2 days there was an attempted coup.
Yeah, U.S. politics said, "Hold my beer." Yeah, I agree with Will. I was watching it today, and I was frustrated by the length, but I realized I saw in chat that you guys had all dealt with it, so it only felt appropriate that I finished the movie because might as well get some fun talking about it. So I'll start off with a kind of a high level synopsis. This is obviously the sequel to the first one, with starring Gal Gadot, and first one I thought was, not to review the first one, but it definitely set, I thought, a pretty high bar. It's a really great DC movie. I think generally regarded as one of the better ones to come out in a long while. And Gal Gadot, I thought, did a pretty good job. Chris Pine's a good actor. This one's kind of seemed fun, right? 1984, kind of bringing it back. I'm guessing they did that because then Superman isn't around. He can't just save everything because it is the DC universe. Like, I don't know why they do 1984, but I feel like it can't, events can't get too big when Superman's around, because then everyone's like, well, why isn't he just come fix everything? So I don't know what the reason was, but it said 1984. And we kind of start off with this kind of what I think is not a terrible action scene at the beginning, right? There's a they kind of hop all around. Oh, just to start, I might skip around a little, even though I just watched it a few hours ago. I found it very hard to concentrate on this movie, and even just writing a recap right before this, it almost felt like I wasn't doing anything else. I wasn't on my phone. It just was very hard to stay interested in the movie. I found myself thinking about nothing sometimes. Some of the sequences definitely felt like they started to drag. So,
interestingly, nothing probably better than most of this movie.
Yeah. So
hey, don't tip your hand early.
No, I don't mean to subdue a surprise at the end. I'm sure we can give a summary, but feel free to throw in anything as I go along. So I'll throw in the first, what I remembered. So this is why I say I remember this to be the first scene. If there was something before this, I'm sorry. But it starts off with kind of focusing on a mall, very 1980s. They kind of hop through a bunch of shops. Oh no, I'm sorry. Before that, they kind of hint at Wonder Woman saving people, right?
Well, no, I thought the first scene was her as a child.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, there was
because when you asked about the opening, when you were talking about the opening action sequence, I was actually curious which one you were referring to, because
the girl scene.
Those are very distinct.
It was basically a disconnected Pixar short at the beginning of the movie that did not call back in the main movie, even only in the
No, there's a tiny
yes,
callback.
yes,
There's
yes,
a tiny
it,
callback.
yes, it did, Brian.
There's a tiny callback.
Thematically.
yeah.
Wait, what was
You
the
can't,
thematically
you can't cheat your ways to
Don't
success.
Yeah, don't cheat.
Oh yeah,
but-
William's smart.
All right, I don't want to get to the end
Paying
yet
attention.
because we're definitely gonna. Oh, we're definitely gonna spoil the crap out of this. Not that you know, for our
He
viewer in
listened to
Australia,
Diana's mother.
if you haven't seen World War 1984, we're definitely going to spoil it. So let's start with that opening sequence. That was the first one where the race and everything. Okay, so you bring in something. They play out. They make out the island more. There's a massive stadium of women. There's a race, and she's the only child, I guess, because she's the princess. So
Well,
why
I'd like to
not?
talk about the stadium first.
okay,
Like all those people in that stadium who, I don't know if in Amazonian society they had to pay money for their seats or how that works, but 95% of that race takes place outside of the stadium. There are no big screens. All they have is some flags to watch. Like that is a terrible venue for that type of race. Like that is the only thing I'm like, why are these people in this fucking stadium when the race is happening all across the island? This is ridiculous.
It's like a marathon, though. You only see the little section of the marathon, but they have the whole like American Ninja thing in the beginning, right?
That's fair. I did actually bring up the marathon point to my wife.
did
when
you?
we were talking. I was like, this is like actually like Olympic marathon running. But still, if they can construct that whole American Ninja thing, then they can construct all of the other trials inside of the venue. Inside of
yeah.
the stadium.
Considering that the entire outside was some swimming and then just a bunch of horseback riding, like it wasn't even that impressive. It was like ride a horse around. I didn't
But you got to watch out for the branch. You forgot about the branch obstacle course.
Yeah, that's right.
From like a super nitpicky detail standpoint, they alternated between like individual things that was like, oh sweet, this is superhuman Olympics, and then wait, a normal person could basically do this. And like they just kept oscillating between those that it was hard for me to like sustain like being into it and being like, oh, these people are like super powered. And
Well,
Yeah.
no, but isn't it weird though that only the superpowered child is better than all the superpowered adults? Like, I mean, they were all Amazonians. It wasn't like she was an Amazon child and was up against like
well,
human.
she's like a super Amazon or something, right?
I guess.
Is that
she,
so?
like, she's the God Slayer or whatever from the first movie. I like whatever.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I don't know any of the DC lore about this. Like I don't know any of the
Only
DC
pay
backstory.
attention to the movie context.
Yeah, but I also found it very weird that there was like a 6-year-old competing in this. I was like, this is kind of weird. This is like, if she is that much better than everybody else her age,
Right, this should be the last time she's allowed to compete.
Yeah.
why is she even doing this? Everybody knows she's the best. Like,
Right.
what is
Remove
what's the
that
point?
one branch and she wins every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and then there was this kind of and so you know how like you're supposed to play something and then do a callback later, and what's her
Yeah,
name,
but
the
no
mentor
callback.
was like you know, try your best and just hold back and wait. But she was in the lead from pretty much the start. Like I didn't know what it was like immediately it's like you had a bunch of different ideas on how they were going to play it out, and then they changed it up, but then didn't go back and see and then say, well crap, we don't have time to like maybe reshoot this, but like we're just going to leave it in because it's mostly okay. But it's like you see them setting up something and then, well, okay, hold back. What does that have to do with holding back? She darted in the front, right? So like there was no holding back to like take time to look at something, and then she cheated. What does that have to do with like it just felt so disconnected from, you know?
It's almost like this movie didn't have a real writer.
Yeah, I think your line of there was a bunch of different ideas is really a through line, where like this movie felt like many different individual parts of it were decent, but they each were trying to serve a different end, and then they just strung them all together.
Yes.
And then we're like, it's a movie.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, by the way, this was miraculously my favorite scene probably in the entire movie. I thought
Well, it was a good
It was
Pixar
exciting.
show in and of itself, right? Like
there was
I-
some excitement, some
mean,
action. It
okay,
was all right.
But why have the thing? I thought it was like, okay, you hit this thing and then it hits the marker, and they have people like measuring with the flags. I'm like, oh, that kind of feels like old times. Like, how else would you do that? But then but then didn't everyone hit every marker? Like it wasn't even, you know, like that looked incredibly hard. And I thought that was going to matter. But then when everyone hits every marker, it's like you don't even show that there's any stakes to hitting it. You know what I mean? It kind of implies that was just like they should have just been on horse at that point. The bow and the arrow were meaningless, right?
I mean, it was just it was another action thing to do.
Yeah.
Like I don't think there was a deeper logic there.
I mean,
I guess,
I'm
like-
surprised nobody was freaking out when Diana skipped one of them, right? And nobody was like, "Where is she?" Like there was no reaction from the crowd. I was expecting something at that point.
I mean, I assume that they're all
Princess
cheering for a
Buttercup
lot of
knew
people.
something was up.
Yeah. Buttercup knew what was going on.
Buttercup knew something was up.
That was her.
Yeah.
You didn't know that was Robin Wright?
I forgot.
Robin
I remember
Wright is
I saw
the
this. I
only
saw this
re-
like 2 weeks ago.
Robin Wright is the only good part of either. Of
She's
those
amazing.
movies.
I love her. She's amazing.
Too bad she was in it for like 20 seconds.
Yeah, but she was in the first one more, and I thought she didn't have a major role in the first one. But she's amazing. I love her. And this is a very a quick tangent I want to make. Turns out
No.
Lucy Lawless
No
is
quick
far
tangent.
cooler than I even had ever imagined. When she called out Kevin Sorbo. I don't know if you guys saw this, the tweet. All right, everyone saw it. She called out Kevin Sorbo. Yeah, I really, really like that. And then I went on her Twitter page. I'm like, Jesus, she's a lefty. So kind of shout out to Lucy Lawless if she's listening. So you can always hope. So okay, so we get back to it. So they do the race. She cheats, which is very clear by not hitting the thing. Like everyone knew that she, like the fact that she was in the lead. I'm sure everyone was just cheering because it's exciting. But
she's a 6-year-old, and like whatever, she did her best. She's
Right.
6 years old. She
Right.
shouldn't be competing in this anyway. Like, what are we gonna do? Yell
But
at
I
her?
mean, they're gods, so it's not like they can get hurt. So it's like whatever, or maybe they're kind of god-like. I don't know. But like it was so obvious that she cheated. It wasn't like she had cheated in a way that no one could tell except everyone else. Like she was obviously not going to get away with it, And then when stopping her from finishing, it's like, I mean, you can. I thought I kind of liked that scene. I liked her taking her down and her getting angry and like she's a kid and she's frustrated. And I'm like, oh, they're really going to play off of this. Don't cheat later. But it's such a weak link to what happens later. I
mean, thematically, the whole movie is about not taking shortcuts.
not taking shortcuts.
Yeah, like
Yes.
using the power of this stone to grant you all of the things that you desire. There is a price to pay for that, right? That's
All
the
right,
whole
well, we'll
point
get
of a
into why
that's
I
the whole
think
point
that-
of a monkey's paw is you don't cheat. Like you.
Right, but
Oh man.
Yeah,
We're
but like,
jumping
I'm
right
going to
into
get
the
into
meat of it.
why like I think that's just absolutely
It
like
doesn't feel comparable to like cheating in a race and the kind of lesson there. Like it just didn't,
right.
those don't really like kind of like
We
they're
are
both moral
very
actions.
and Will, I know that you're not the defender of
But,
this movie, so I'm not like attacking you, but like, man, that is a broad interpretation there.
I mean,
like that
no,
theme.
I don't think it's a
No,
broad interpretation at
isn't.
all. That is like
I'm with
literally
Will.
what they said. Like, don't cheat.
No,
Don't cheat?
I'm absolutely with
All right,
Will on this.
I'm going to hold off my objections. We got to get to the regular part of the plot where I'll call it out again where I think like I don't understand how these two relate.
How about we just jump to
just-
the end of the movie and then we can cycle back?
I just forgot that they had said that at the end of that sequence since I saw it so long.
No,
ago,
yeah, no,
but
that was, like-
William's absolutely bang on with the theme. Yes, I
Okay.
agree with him completely.
All right, so
And
all right. So the theme's been set. We can all agree the theme's been set. Don't cheat. You got some growing up to do. Don't cheat. Right. It'll be hard not to cheat later. Right. Okay. Great. So do we then cut to the mall? Is that the next scene? Is that the next
Yes.
thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the next.
Yes.
So the mall. Oh no. I'm sorry. Then there's a bunch of quick cuts to DC, where people are getting saved randomly, and you kind of get like little hints of Wonder Woman, right? Like
Well,
she's
it's not just Wonder Woman. It's like, just in case you didn't know, we're in the fucking 80s. Like, it is a montage of all of the 80s things, right? Like, you have the Firebird, like you have the 80s music, you have the outfits.
the runner with the
Yeah.
crazy neon. Yeah.
Yeah, like it is setting a location and more importantly a time. Like, we are in the 80s.
None of you watched BoJack Horseman, correct?
No.
I know.
Okay, because there was a lot of exactly this montage when it was doing the 80s and the 90s and so on and so forth. I mean, it's a common thing, but
But it wasn't just that. It was also Gal clearly going around and doing things. It's like establishing she lives there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So they're doing both, right? Yeah. Like, okay, she's gotten older. She's got the lasso. I mean, I guess like she technically took place in the 50s. I guess she didn't age. Fine. She's superhero. They can do whatever they want. We get to the mall, and this is like where the first big kind of, we're starting the story now goes. And it's like they try to do a lot and again, there's like multiple ideas, but no clear, like such like a what's that thing called where it's like 20 different steps to do a very simple thing, you know that
it's like a Rube Goldberg.
Yeah, it felt like a Rube Goldberg of a plot. So you have people who go to
Like
rob
episode, but instead of 20 minutes, it's 2.5 hours.
Well, so I kind of get that they pulled on a theme that she's somewhat helping people from not getting hurt, but she's also kind of stopping some crime. Then they lead to crime in a mall. Like, okay, you're kind of tying it together. And people go and rob a jewelry store, but they're not really there for the jewelry store. They're there for the stuff in the back, right? So then you get to the back and they kind of focus in on a thing, which is never taken. It's just kind of zoomed in on, like, hey, this thing's going to be important. They run out without the thing. They then hand it to other people as like a quick, like, hey, they're going to look for us, but we've given it to our buddies. But then everyone's immediately identified, and one guy, and then I guess mall cops have guns. I don't know. Like, it was an aggressive. The idea that they couldn't just run out away from mall cops, but whatever. But then you get one guy who then thinks he's so cornered he grabs a kid and hangs them over the edge of the
horror
story.
To the horror of all the other robbers.
To which the other robbers are now like, hey, bro.
I actually like that.
Yeah,
I liked that the other robbers like, what are we doing here? Like, whoa, this is too much.
Nothing you've described so far is problematic to me.
I just thought it was kind of like, you would have thought that they would have all left, not hung around to be like, hey, bro, what are you doing? Because then when, Gal does her show up scene, they then whip out their guns. It's like, so killing a kid is terrible, but pulling out a gun to shoot someone in a crowded space would have been fun. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just like very, what are you trying to get at? But that whole scene was to give us an action sequence that's completely disconnected from basically everything else. We never see those robbers again. But that, I guess, the jewelry store gets found out to be holding a bunch of illegal stuff. Like, that's the whole reason for that.
Yeah. Like,
backroom
antiquity
dealer.
Yeah, I think that's pretty straightforward, right? Like, the criminals there aren't the important part. The criminals are a mechanism to bring this other thing into the plot.
Right. It was a lot to, it felt like, bring that into the plot. It felt like that could have been done.
It also gives you an action sequence, right?
Yeah. And like everything in this movie, because it was 2.5 hours long, it could have been cut by 30 to 50% runtime and had as much impact, but not been kind of draggy.
Wait, whoa. Let's not cut like one of the 4 action scenes from this very long superhero movie.
I like
Fair enough.
I'll be honest, I liked I thought the action was pretty smooth. I thought it was pretty entertaining. It was all right. Right? It was fine.
I would actually say those were some of the worst special effects I've seen in a big budget movie in a long time.
Oh, we're gonna get to the special effects. We're gonna get to the doll that she tumbled with.
On the road?
Yes, yeah, we'll get to that.
Colleen was freaking out about that before.
Except Colleen was like, how would they put a real kid in that situation to shoot that shot?
It was
like,
so obviously like, and it was like, did you run out of special effects budget at that point? Like, was that what happened?
But
we out of money?
Special effects that are actually like well done are so floaty and powerless. Like, for a person who is supposed to have the strength of like Superman, essentially, like there's no weight or power behind anything she's doing.
All right, let's get to that first. We can that's a good summary point. We talk about it. We'll get back to the plot. You bring up a really good point that I noticed in a lot of this. When she lands, when she moves, it's like they make it a point to remove anything. And I think it goes to the well, she's a lady. She can't like land with a thud. She has to like be delicate and like a flower. I feel like they were playing that angle. Like, No, but she's still a woman, so she needs her like womanly. Like it just felt like so, uh, 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 and trying to split this hair of she's powerful, but she's a woman. Like they have no idea how to write powerful women, so this is what they think it is. You know what I mean?
It's possible. I just assumed that the animators had no clue what they were doing. To be honest.
No, there's a scene near the end of the movie where like she's coming down and she's falling like 40 feet, and when she lands, it's silence. You don't even hear like the slightest. It's just like, and she's not played as this in the shadows person who is designed to not make noise. You know what I mean? Like she's a direct, like her, everything about them is all direct. Like I'm gonna punch you in the face now. It's antithetical to like what should have been, right? And I feel like that's them being like, oh, but she can't land too hard. She's a woman. Like, she has to land soft.
I don't know that I buy that as the logic for it or like the rationale. I think they were just not great at the special effects.
But like removing sound.
I mean, have you seen Black Panther?
No, actually I haven't.
Okay, yeah. Well, so like the last fight scene in that is unbelievably bad.
Is it?
From a CGI standpoint? Like
I need to go back and see it.
It is catastrophically bad.
Okay.
And like that too, like to Adam's point, it just felt like they didn't have any weight behind anything, right? So it's a thing that happens when you rush special effects.
Okay. You're right. I maybe ascribing too much intent to it, but it felt like it happened multiple times. So maybe it's just mass incompetence, which is always like, trying to pull something like this together. It could have just been something that was missed. You're right. Okay, so we get through that scene, and then we get to Gal, who is, I guess, an archaeologist. I don't know. She gave a bunch of titles. She's working at this place, and
she's an anthropologist.
I'm sorry, she's an anthropologist.
I think was it a Smithsonian museum?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, right?
Okay. Yeah. And I guess they're low on funding, which becomes a thing. Kristen Wiig is there, who's like just another person that's there. They don't really know each other. She's kind of likes Gal because clearly Gal walks in, people like her, people talk to her. I guess Kristen Wiig isn't really popular there, which becomes her big thing. But she's kind of
overall.
What was up, Brian?
I liked that part of it overall. I thought that worked really well.
I thought that was incredibly underdeveloped, but okay, that's fair.
Well, ironically, the movie oscillates between like lingering far, far too long on things and then being too quick about other things, right? Like it had massive pacing and timing problems across the board. Like it's I keep thinking like my mental model of the movie is so much different than the movie I actually saw, because I just kind of try to string the things that stood out as interesting to me together, and like that's kind of the story in my head. I'm like, okay, cool, I can see this, and the beats are all interesting, but then like the movie itself just like was like taffy, just like stretching out certain areas and other areas were like they just said very briefly like this super important thing happened off camera, but like we're just going to use a single sentence to encapsulate it, and like
there we go, and we're moving.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of the problems come down to having two villains. Like, I don't think that the movie for 2.5 hours had the room for Kristen Wiig's story to be fully developed, as well as
what do you want to call him?
Max Lord, right?
Max Lord.
Yeah. Pedro Pascal, is that his name?
Pedro Pascal, yep.
Yeah.
And Cheetah is Kristen Wiig's character.
Yeah.
Barbara.
Barbara. Yeah, I just don't think that
both of them individually a lot, I must say, except for the kid.
What was that, Brian?
I said I liked each of those villains individually, except for the kid.
I hated Kristen Wiig's villain.
I would agree. I wasn't.
And and Pedro Pascal I thought was okay. Like I thought the Max Lord story was interesting in theory.
Right. Yes, my mental model of
Yeah.
it is better than the reality of the movie I watched.
You know what Cheetah was in this? She was what they do every time they bring in a really crappy Marvel villain. Was Ironmonger or or Michael B. Jordan's character in Black Panther. She was just the similar to almost exactly the same at powers as main character, but less interesting in every way. Like that's basically the role she filled, I felt.
Well, I mean, in both of those movies, right? They're explicitly the same powers as the main
Yeah,
character, right?
yeah,
One,
yes.
I mean, she wishes for them, and then in Black Panther, Killmonger, takes whatever the ingests the same fruit or whatever it is that gives Black Panther his abilities.
Yeah, and in the first Iron Man, it was just a guy taking basically the same tech as Stark and fighting against him. That's like the weakest model in my mind for a villain. That's all I was really getting at.
But it was a secondary villain. It wasn't like she was the sidekick. So
I guess I'll definitely say I really liked the like I wish I was as cool as her as the like catalyst. I liked that.
But it was a quick turn to just outright villain.
okay, so let's talk about
Well,
the magic
whole,
in it.
like I wish I was as cool as her, and oh, she's trying to undo this now. I can't let that happen. I really
Well,
like that.
it was more than that, and I think they kind of cheated a little there, but it's okay, right? Like so like this plot device, this citrine or whatever it was, this little rock, little glowy rock thing. When you touch it, and you say, "I wish." I guess you get one wish. I don't think you get multiple. It gives it to you, through like pure like happenstance. It looks like it's not like you necessarily feel anything different. You just kind of get it through like the luck of things, which is kind of interesting. I wasn't against that, but it takes something from you, which we find out later. And Kristen Wiig's character, it made her like Wonder Woman, but I thought I was kind of okay with her justified turn to bad because apparently it took away her humanity. And that, you know what, like, okay, like, yeah, like you're allowed a quick turn like that because it literally ripped your ability to feel for other people, like kind of a tragic thing. But yeah,
I don't think that was very explicit.
Well, it wasn't.
They call it out. Gal Gadot kind of was like, "Do you know what they took from you?" And she makes it explicit, but it, the idea that she knew that was definitely what it was, and she wasn't just an evil person, But that's what it is.
I didn't even think her as evil. It just sort of felt, I mean, I don't know. I guess to me, it felt like she was being asked to give up her new like status and power. And she's like, why the fuck would I want to do that? Why do I want to go back to how I was before?
I mean, Brian, that's like the plot of every evil person right there. So I don't know, like, like she broke into the White House and attacked a bunch of White House people and then helped the guy who was clearly the bad guy get away. I mean, I don't, right? But I thought they kind of wrote it off like that. Like that's what she lost. I'm like, all right, so she lost her will to be good. I guess, and I do wonder what the coffee guy lost. Like, what do you think he sacrificed for that coffee in the beginning? I have no idea. Hopefully not too much. So we moved to Gal, who never did she ever explicitly state she wants to see her dead guy that she had romantic feelings for like 30 years ago?
They kind of like, I guess if you know the previous movie, it's pretty clear what she was.
Well, they made it very obvious that she was still thinking about him.
Well,
I guess
they wanted to make it a surprise, I think, when he showed up, so she couldn't say that out loud, right?
All right. So like the rules of the thing kind of got a little annoying.
Fucking surprise, let me tell you.
Right. So like the consistency and the logic of it kind of made it a little harder. Where you're like, I think this is what they're getting at, but they won't. I don't think they made it explicit enough, or they didn't make it clear enough. But okay, that's like when you saw him show up, you're like, okay, this is what it is. I'd originally thought that when she had wished for it, when Kristen Wiig had wished to be like her, I originally had thought, because I didn't understand the monkey's paw thing they kind of brought in later. I didn't understand the downside. I thought she was stealing her powers. I thought she was literally sucking them from Gal Gadot. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's an interesting dynamic, Like, she's gonna have the power and Gal Gadot's gonna have nothing. And it's like, no, she was just gonna get her own, and she lost her humanity. I was like, oh, okay. I thought it would have been really, really, really interesting if she was actually pulling the powers from Gal Gadot, you know, because they were kind of happening at the same time. Like she was getting stronger and Gal Gadot was getting weaker, and it seemed like a direct link, and apparently had nothing to do with each other. So
I actually totally missed that she was losing her powers until they explicitly said it.
really,
Because
Yeah,
her powers are so inconsistent. Where
well, they
like,
were
a
because
knife
she was
is
losing
really-
them.
a knife is really dangerous at one point, and then like a boulder falling on you is nothing. Like it just, I could not keep track of that kind of thing. So until they said it out loud, I was like, oh, I didn't even know that was happening.
I mean, I would agree there was some inconsistency in her powers, even as it was but once it became explicit. Like she takes a bullet wound, but then she's like, able to punch trucks. I'm like, I'm pretty sure she's putting more force into like her fists than that bullet was putting into her shoulder.
Well,
Like,
also, one thing that I'm not clear on is like, under normal circumstances, is she invulnerable?
I think she is.
So then why does she block things? Like,
Yeah.
why does she block bullets?
I think the
There's a
same
movie
reason
Like
that
concept
Superman.
with
with her bracers, right? She like, makes a show about blocking bullets, but like, why does she have to do that?
Inconsistent.
unclear.
Inconsistent and unclear, and that's why it was really hard for me to get behind. Like, oh man, yeah, her powers really took a step down. Like, did they? But then she just randomly invents powers later on. But
I think on a broader, like kind of a broader topic, I hate the trope of superheroes losing their powers. Like for whatever reason, like that just turns me off in a movie. Because it's like we all know they're gonna get them back. There's no suspense here. Like it's just that is how it is. Because unless you're gonna kill Superman, he's definitely gonna get his powers back.
well, they're also going to win. So I mean, you might as well just not have the movie at that point.
No, but I guess like I don't know. It's just so cliche, right? It happens in so many movies, and like it's also the problem with having heroes who are just so much more powerful than everybody else, right? It is the Superman problem that the only way that you can hurt him is to take away his powers, which is boring.
Strangely, I actually agree with both of you. I would say it's a boring trope, but of course they're gonna like it's always gonna end with them on top. Like I don't know, it's weird, but I think it's just overplayed. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. I mean, what do you do with superhero plots, right? They did try and do some interesting things in here, and even if they don't work out, I do always like them trying different things, like the plot device. All right, so let's get to the next part. I know I'm kind of skipping around. So she kind of does a wish. Does Chris Pine show up at this point, or does the guy get the thing? No, Chris Pine shows up at this point, right?
It doesn't matter. We can talk about either of them.
All right, so Chris Pine apparently just shows up.
Let's keep this truck moving.
Yeah, he shows up, and he doesn't look like him, but he's just another really handsome guy.
I think this is a very important point. I wouldn't gloss over this.
How about you take the reins for this?
I mean, he shows up in another random guy's body, just some dude from DC. He just possesses his body. I mean, we can get into all of the insanity around that later if we want to just keep going with the plot. But yeah, I think it's important for the listeners to know that
Listener.
Chris Pine is not just resurrected. The wish is not granted like literally everyone else in the film, but instead he is placed into another man's body, which is critical and bizarre.
Yeah, it makes no sense given the mechanisms of all of the other wishes, right? And how those are granted, to your point. Like why it would be granted in this way. Also, sorry, go ahead.
You finish your thought. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and like they kind of just gloss over, like, oh, he's the slightly schlubbier Chris Pine, and we're not going to really acknowledge the fact that he's this entirely separate person who was functionally wiped out of existence by, me making this wish.
Yeah,
I was kind of bummed that they didn't use like the other actor for like the majority of the scenes, or even some of them of like, you know, you have a wide shot and like he's standing in it, but it's the other guy, not Chris Pine. Like they never did that kind of thing. So it very quickly was just like, so it's just Chris Pine. He's just there.
One of the many weird things about this, because I mean, basically that is reflective of the entire problem with this, which is really problematic in a lot of ways. That this guy's body was just used like a puppet. It's pretty bizarre.
Puppet.
Yeah, I mean, he comes back at the very end, right? So to skip like all the way to the very end of this movie,
Yeah, sure.
he comes back and bumps into Wonder Woman, and the whole time I just wanted like the line Wonder Woman should have said is like, "I totally raped you like a week ago."
Yep.
Because that's what she did. Because that body definitely didn't consent to that.
And I don't know if you noticed, she really looks him up and down. She like really just treats him like a slab of beef when they're standing there at the end. He's like, yeah,
Yeah,
fucking weird.
I didn't know how to treat that whole rabbit hole. It's a whole thing.
It's why would you make that choice? Like it just doesn't. What is the benefit of making that choice?
What is the benefit? Sorry.
No, they could have just. I don't know. They could have literally just made it that Chris Pine's alive again. Steve is alive. Like somebody in the writer's room chose to put him into that guy's body.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
he could have
weird.
just apparated, right? It's magic. Like, why did he have to go into a body?
And then kind of drop the ball on anything interesting happening as a result of that.
Yeah,
right? That was the thing.
Exactly.
It didn't pay off in any way.
Yeah, so that's kind of my point. What was the benefit of making that choice? Because you didn't get any payout. All you did was introduce rapey Gal Gadot.
Did that guy fucking lose his job? He was like not going to work for a week.
Yes.
Is he really sore from like all of the action sequences that he just did in Egypt?
Right,
that
like
Chris Pine put his body into harm's way. Like,
what if they were
totally
like
gonna get this random guy killed
for some random shit that he did was probably illegal in some other country, and he gets his body back, and like
That's
Iranian police are like asking for extradition, and he's like, "What? I wasn't in Iran." They're like, "Yeah, you were." Look at the.
Yeah, I want to see an after credits scene of like all the videos and like camera shots of him like in like we're like, I did what? Like, holy shit.
I was
that
on
guy
a
stole a fucking jet.
Yeah, I stole a jet from the fucking Smithsonian.
What do you mean? I just drove it out. You're like, yeah, you just drove it out.
It was fully fueled. And the keys were in it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
that felt Battlefield Earth, by the way. But keep going.
Yeah, you made a point of like, who in the writers' room thought that up, and an important thing to know is that Patty Jenkins, who directed the first movie, and everybody's like, oh, Patty Jenkins did a really good job with Wonder Woman. The studio was like, hey, why don't you just write and direct the next one? So they like handed the keys of this thing to somebody who isn't a writer. And like, I think that makes all of the problems with the movie a lot more clear.
Which is also why now Disney is stepping in and not letting her have full control over Rogue Squadron anymore. Because they're like, oh my God, I saw that flaming pile of crap.
Well, but like, doesn't everyone say like the best movies are always, outside of like a very, very few exceptions, is always like the best is a collaborative effort that tends to be, fighting and like lots of objection, but no one has so much power they can just always get what they want.
I mean, she's also the director.
No, she had everything. She had all the power here. That's my point is like,
oh, I see what you're saying.
As like, you can't, it's a simple, easy, they clearly have a ton of talent. Let's just give them more. It's like, no, they actually had the exact right amount of power in the last movie. Like, that's maybe another way to look at it,
The George Lucas problem.
Yeah, it's the George Lucas problem, sure.
Yeah, so the plot not making any sense and like having all of these bits and pieces like from all of these other tropes and like, yeah, it kind of makes sense that it was written by somebody who wasn't actually a writer. Like the screenplay is written by the director.
I don't really know anything about that, but that sounds like a possible explanation because it was so long and just
Okay,
So,
so
so
you
Max
get,
Lord, right?
you get to Max Lord. Max Lord is introduced as a TV character. Clearly loves the spotlight. He shows up at this place, so we kind of know he's I guess a big to do, and very quickly becomes obvious he knows about the stone and he's trying to get access to it. That's clearly his intent, and everything else is just a way. He ends up donating a ton of money, or at least saying he's going to donate a ton of money. I guess it's clear, we find out later he has no money, but he makes this big show of going to donate a ton, all for the purpose of getting this stone. Right? Is that how I'm reading it? Did I miss anything there?
That sounds bang on.
Yeah,
So,
I feel like that's accurate.
yeah. So then he shows up back at his place. We find out that it's house of cards. He hasn't, like, one of his last investors is ready to pull out. I'm giving you 48 hours. Blah blah blah. As his son is there, and
His
he's
son
got,
knows he's a loser.
yeah. The guy calls him you're a loser, which is such a weird thing. Like, I can't imagine, like, I just can't imagine a business person I would respect calling someone else a loser. It just feels like that was for the kid to hear it, so just to make sure the kid would understand what the hell was going on, besides like a bunch of business talk.
Yeah, I can't imagine somebody who's just invested millions and millions of dollars gives a shit at all whether or not he thinks like the guy who's just defrauded him feels like a loser. Like, just give me my money back.
Right. Calling him, like, it felt like that scene was there to be like, yeah, see, so the kid sees his dad's a loser, and you don't want that. And the dad's like, I won't be a loser anymore. And the kid doesn't seem like, he seems sad, but, like, I mean, the guy just yelled at him. He was sitting in an office all day. Like, kid has a lot of reason to be sad. I don't feel like the dad being like,
I don't know, from like movie logic exposition out loud standpoint, I really don't have a problem with any of that.
My biggest problem was that the kid looked absolutely nothing like Pedro Pascal.
Yeah,
It was like it was
thoroughly emotionless at all times.
yeah, it was so distracting, and I was like, you know what? Probably looks like the mother, but
Yeah.
this is not what I should be thinking right now.
Right? Yes.
Like, that's the problem with it. Like, there are totally plausible
yeah,
explanations.
like,
for
are you
this.
dating this guy's mom? Like, is
Yeah.
that what's going on? Like,
But, like, I shouldn't have to be thinking about this.
yeah, like the fact that that's weird. It's like, you guys could have cut. You're right. A fair point. So he gets the statue after some other attempt, right? He goes to, like, make out with Kristen Wiig at some party. She's starting to feel the effects of the Wonder Woman stuff. So she does kind of like a montagey thing a little bit, and you're seeing that she's getting balance, she's getting stronger. She does the, like, weightlifting montage where she goes into a
people notice
gym.
her now.
Yeah, and people are noticing her, and she's got confidence, and I guess I don't know if it was implied that her body got, like, more in shape. I mean, she's clearly stronger, but that's magic, like, whatever. I feel like they just made it a point to not highlight, like, anything, because she's uncertain, she's self-conscious, so, like, she wore, like, maybe not the most flattering clothes in the beginning, and then they just made her go to tight clothes. I don't actually know if they implied that, like, somehow her body physically, like, noticeably changed. I don't know.
I mean, sorry, go ahead, Brian.
I think there were explicitly no outward changes, which
Like,
worked for
you don't have to have, because it's magic. I couldn't tell if they were going for it or not. It kind of felt I don't know.
No, this is the
I'm a
trope.
sucker for all that, and I like all that.
Well, look at Captain America. Like, they didn't do anything like that. You know what I mean?
No, this is the trope where the nerdy girl takes off her glasses and everyone's like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God, she's gorgeous."
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
I had no idea.
Yeah, she's all thatting them.
Right. Right.
Yes.
It was all in her head.
Right.
Yeah, but so my big problem with kind of that Smithsonian gala, it has nothing to do with, like, Kristen Wiig's character, suddenly becoming, magical and hot. It was the effort that Pedro Pascal's character went through to, like, continue this seduction when he already has the thing in his hand and all he has to do is make the wish. Like, what's the point of doing anything beyond that? Like, like, just make your wish and be done with this. Like,
Yeah.
You don't have to continue anything else. Like,
He's got to go home and have a scene with the stone.
it made no sense, right? Like,
was a full round action. It was very busy.
Well, they could have played up like the maybe like there was kind of like maybe she started to love him or like I don't know, or he started to like fall in love with her and it became a thing, but like nothing. It was just
Well, he needed time to seduce the stone later.
yeah.
You know, it was
So we get to the stone scene where he takes it back to his office and he does something, and I don't have the exact words, but I kind of thought it was funny. He's like, because he knows everything. He's done all the research, right? He's like, I wish to be you. But then he does like a clarifying statement, which I think is for the audience, not like the stone, to be like, hey, stone, just to be clear. He's like, I wish to be you, as in the stone. It's like, who are you saying that to? Like, are you saying that to the stone? Or is that to me, the audience, when they're like, what do you mean? You want to be a rock? Like, what do you want to be?
The movie should have ended turning him into a gigantic stone.
like literally a stone. Yeah,
Like that's
I
it.
mean,
Like, congratulations, you got your wish.
yeah, what kind of brain power went into that wish? Like, this is the wishing for more wishes thing, but way more complicated. It was like, make me the stone. I'm like, that whole plot device was
Yeah.
weird. That would be the last thing I would want to come out of my mouth, because I would be worried about exactly what Will Smith said.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
it turned me into a little citrine.
I really I had a lot of fun with the results of that wish and how it manifested, but I really didn't like that it felt totally unearned and random. Like, I would have really appreciated some sort of sense of like, oh, like he knows, like, it felt like a totally random thing to say, but also obviously like you have to say something like that with tons of intention.
You're at the Smithsonian.
It just sort of like randomly all came, like, it was very frustrating.
Yeah,
But
go to a college, go find like a logician or something, and be like, I need you to write me a statement on what you would say to a genie so that you can have infinite wishes.
Yeah. I want to be the lamp. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, give me a full proof.
Crazy idea, man. No one ever wishes to be the lamp.
Well, here's my question. Now, maybe I was just dense, or maybe this is because I watched the beginning of it some time ago, but I didn't gather until the scene with the oil baron. I didn't gather until that scene that he somehow then had control over the monkey paw aspect of it and could
Yeah.
ask. I thought he was just granting wishes to people. I'm like, I don't see where like he's just asking people to wish for things that he wants.
it's sort of slow roll, and then
it became something
said it
else.
out loud.
Yeah, it was
And
very
then
unclear.
it became I'm going to grant your wish, but then I'm going to tell you what I'm getting directly. Because like
Yeah.
when he walked off with the security team, I was like, why the fuck is the security team going to
Yeah,
go with
no.
him? That's
Well,
really
so-
weird.
So I think my problem with it is a little bit different, right? So the way that they describe it is that the stone will take what is most valuable to you, right? So it grants you your wish, but then takes your most valuable possession.
Well, now I've got a new complaint because there's no
And-
way that security team.
Well,
was
that's- yeah,
valuable.
exactly.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
why-
that's where the inconsistency
But
goes.
his part of his, whatever reason, his power was to decide what he was going to end up taking.
Yeah, what the
Like,
most
that was-
most valuable.
Yeah,
thing
and
is.
maybe
But it didn't
by
start that way,
taking
did
it
it?
over. No, but honestly, because there's unless like either when he took that from them, like he immediately saw what their most prized thing was, and he just blurted it out, or because he was the stone, he could just make it what he wanted, and that was it.
But
It was-
initially he was just telling people to wish for things that he wanted. It was a much more direct line to him getting what he wanted, right? He's like,
Yeah.
wish for more employees to help you
Well,
answer the phone.
so yeah, but I think there's two aspects, right? Because, and it is a little bit hazy, but you get people to wish, like if people aren't capable of giving that thing to you, right? Like if they don't have the thing you need, have them wish for it, right? But if they do have it, like, you know, all that guy's oil or that guy's security team, then I'll grant you whatever wish you want, and then I'll take the thing that you have that I need.
Right, but then like you heard
So-
like the quote of like all the young people getting Porsches. Like, what did he get from them? Like, it just got very out of control very, very quickly.
Why-
Well, at the end, he was
What-
talking about how he was going to steal people's health, right? And steal people, like, you know, all of the little things. I don't
That
know,
was
man.
just to undo this weird, like, why was he getting injured granting wishes? Like, that was a weird thing.
Yeah, so it clearly like wasn't, you know, him and his magic wasn't compatible. So now there had to be a compelling event that he didn't just, you know, I had originally thought at one point, which I thought was kind of an interesting idea, that because the magic has an uncontrollable desire to do this transaction, he couldn't stop himself from needing more wishes. I thought that was gonna like
Oh,
almost like, oh, I am compelled now because that is the goal of this thing, which is to have and I thought, oh, that's kind of like he couldn't even stop if he wanted to.
So just like Wonder Woman's powers being all over the place, like exactly what was going on with him was just going all over the place, and
Yeah.
it was a little bit annoying, and it didn't feel like it was ever like foreshadowed in a way, and it just did whatever. But I will say on the flip side, I really enjoyed like Wishes. Like that was fun. There was a lot of really fun stuff that came out of that. I liked the clever way of using the powers of like being like, hey, tell me that thing you want, and then like grabbing somebody, and then like that becomes the wish that they did. Like I enjoyed those moments. I enjoyed parts of that.
Yeah, the best part was when he asked to set like the trader or whatever on his like at his job to, you know, wouldn't you wish this thing would happen? And then the guy's like, yeah, and he's like, wait, did I already get your wish? He's like, yeah, yesterday.
Yeah, that was the
Like,
first Porsche, right?
there were fun moments there, but there was just too much like
Yeah, it's like,
static around it that just
Why
made it unfocused.
why didn't the president wish to just completely disarm Russia's nukes rather than wishing for more?
Well,
That seemed like
well,
a
no,
really
but, like, I
short-sighted
think-
wish.
I no no I think
short-sightedness.
if you don't really believe it's a real wish,
yeah,
you don't realize how far
not
you're
really
gonna go with it.
through it.
Yeah, I was like kind of okay, like sure he just walked into the West Wing, and sure there's top secret classified technology that could never exist. That's just on boards with windows outside, completely open. Like yeah, whatever. Like yeah, like this is all for us. Okay, like that's fine.
Yeah, well, Yahoo
that's-
just walked into the Capitol, so
like
I
no,
don't
yeah,
know.
but like whatever. Like I'm sure he like wished away to get to something. Although they kind of play it off like I don't know how he got there, but I'm sure like through this wishing he can basically have whatever he wants at this point, right?
That anti-traffic wish was pretty legit.
Yeah, everyone getting out of the way.
Yeah.
What was that like? I want everyone else's no traffic. Like, how did he steal that from someone? I don't know.
part like the Red Sea.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just pulled over for him.
Yeah.
Which really I wanted them to like crash their cars into like the side of the
Yeah, I
median
was
or something.
expecting like
Yeah. Something like catastrophic. Which would also play into the like unintended consequences of these wishes. But
yeah, from a narrative standpoint, they should have done something about Monkey's Paw in the opening like scene, right? The like careful what you wish for. Instead, it was something. Yeah.
Okay, so here let's get back to the cheating thing. So I'm gonna hit this part. So Gal Gadot wants a guy she knew for what all of a week or two in the 50s, back, right? And she hasn't dated anyone. She's been a hermit ever since.
It was World War One. It was even
yeah, it
further
was
back.
1918.
Oh Jesus! All right, so 60, 70 years.
She was like, why are they flying all of these like biplanes in World War II in Korea? Like this doesn't make any sense
She,
for the first
for an
movie.
immortal, she was really hung up on Chris Pine. Man.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, you figured
enough.
people
Enough.
kept-
Yeah, Connor McLeod got around.
Yeah. How the idea of cheating to get what you want, I mean, cheating death is such like that's not really like, I see it like cheating as like I took a shortcut. Like, how is this a shortcut to seeing him? It's not a shortcut. It's not a possibility. Like, this isn't a shortcut to a potential inevitability you would get with hard work. So like
Yeah,
how
no,
is
but the bigger thing was like Max Lord's cheating to get what he wanted.
Which-
right? Like
yeah,
that's what ties
That
it.
all scanned.
But then that so she gets the foretelling for a message for a thing not to do.
No,
that-
it's not her getting the like as a, you know, she doesn't need to have this moral for, you know, plot reasons, except that it comes back at the end. Like when she tells everybody else, it gives her like a medium to be able to tell the world. like this message, right? She has this message in her. She can deliver it as her truth.
Yeah.
To the rest of the world.
Yes.
But also it like preps the audience as like, here is a theme of the movie.
Well, yeah, I think you just nailed the other theme. Truth was obviously, the other major kind of thing that ran through it, which is kind of the flip side to cheating.
So
right?
so like all the people who wish back their dead relatives, like okay, so like this is a narrative for them. Like I don't know. It's just like it was very weak in my mind. And it wasn't for her. That's where I didn't like. I just felt like it wasn't like it didn't relate to her. It didn't directly relate to her. And
none of those things slam dunk related well.
Yeah.
It was just a bunch of different individually.
Like don't do bad things felt like the theme. Like okay, sure, don't do bad things. They got very specific with the word cheating, and I thought that was going to be a closer relationship. That's all. Because like technically she didn't cheat. Like how is wishing someone back from the dead a shortcut to an inevitability with hard work? Like it doesn't relate to her thing in the beginning at all.
Individually disjointed good ideas.
Yeah.
But the whole thing of like, in order to beat the bad guy, she needs to give up having Chris back. Like, great. I appreciated that, but it still didn't quite follow. Like, she didn't cheat to get him. She just was like, man, it would be nice if I had my lover back. And then he was back. And she's like, great. It's like, it's not like she cheated. She just was like I wish things all the time. That doesn't make me cheating. Like,
right. Like if the beginning,
those things don't match each other.
If the childhood story was about her, not holding on to something that was ultimately going to be really bad, and learning to like not being willing to let go of the thing that was clearly going to be bad, like that would have been a greater theme tying thing, just not like were you holding? I don't know. Anyways, so like
that's like the one part of the movie that I don't have a problem with. It's like the kind of broader theme of it.
But it almost makes me feel like she wasn't the main character in her own movie. Like, great, the theme isn't even about you. Like, okay, it's about Max Lord. Like, okay, all right, this is like a Max Lord movie, So
Well,
yeah, I don't know that I agree with that. But I think we've beaten this to death a little bit. Yeah, so I mean, I think a bigger problem with what she wished for is like this strong female character with the motivation of like the long lost love.
Yeah, Alita was not happy that Wonder Woman's entire arc was, I wish I had my boyfriend back. Like that was literally it. She was very displeased. And I agree. There wasn't a scene she wasn't bitching about. Like
Chris Pine didn't need she could have just been outside of the whole wishing thing, and he could have just never been there. And
I wish he was never in that movie.
Yeah. It's a really good point.
Is it clear how much of a life they even shared together after World War I? Did they even like die?
No, he
died.
He died at the end of the first movie.
Oh, he died. Okay, so
yeah, that's why I said they knew. I didn't really go a couple weeks, a month, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, he sacrificed himself. Like, the like, I can save today, but you can save the world. Some shit like that.
Oh, okay, I forgot that.
And then he like sacrifices himself at the end.
I couldn't remember the plot of the first movie.
It was like it was basically the end of Captain America.
He fights Ares.
Yeah, it was. He was up on a plane.
It was a reverse Captain America.
It was. I think the best of the DC movies, but that bar is real low.
Yeah,
and
I thought it was a solid movie. I was fine with it.
It would have been a middle of the road Marvel movie.
I think it was an okay movie. I remember being an okay movie. I just don't remember the plot at all.
He became a soldier that she picked up on, and they shared some close moments, and then he killed himself in the name of like a good thing.
Sacrificed himself.
Yeah,
killed himself is probably funny.
Yeah, he suicided for the greater good. Like,
I mean, we're arguing semantics at this point. I took my life for the greater good. I mean, all right. I think it's definitely an accurate statement, just not in the right tone. So then we get to the thing. He takes over. He has the power of the White House.
One sec. So I mean, to go like the kind of female themes in this movie, you know, the Chris Pine, you know, long lost love thing is one, but like that the conflict between Kristen, like the villain or one of the villains, and Wonder Woman is that Kristen Wiig is jealous.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
like
that's
not
bad.
is not a great look either.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that really.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm jealous of Wonder Woman, and like that's my motivation. It's like, ugh, like you can have a strong female villain as well that has like a
I wish I
slightly
was
more
as
nuance. Like,
I
you
wish
know,
more guys would look at me like they looked at her. Like that's the
Yeah.
motivation.
or like the first, like one of the first things she says to Gal Gadot is like, "Nice shoes." Like, yeah, come on.
I swear, if I didn't know this was written by a woman, I would be like, this was 100% written by a guy, because it like there's no way this could have been written by someone who or maybe is completely oblivious to how many, like, this feels like a guy writing what they think a woman would want.
Honestly, I'm shocked to hear what you said about the writing of this movie, because this felt like the most like committee written movie that like just hit a bunch of bullet points that I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was a situation where like she took first crack at the screenplay, and then they had somebody come in and rewrite like individual scenes, but
Like,
never like rewrote the entire thing.
Sure. There were just so many scenes that I just kind of saw them like, oh, this is in order to appeal to XYZ. Like it was so frustrating to cynically feel like that so many times.
And to be fair, I think Jim said this about nobody noticing her. I mean, there was that drunk rapist in the park that noticed Kristen Wiig before she had powers.
Right. And like you're like, oh, we're gonna do this again when she gets her powers. Like, all
Yeah.
right.
No, I was actually okay. It was like, yeah, beat the shit out of the guy who was trying to rape you. Like, I'm cool with this. Like,
Wasn't it interesting though that they didn't want you to feel the same way about Gal Gadot and Kristen Wiig kicking that guy's ass, because the music was very sinister
Well,
when she was kicking his ass.
the difference was Kristen Wiig is like, Gal Gadot is trying to save Kristen Wiig, right? And
She hits him once,
and she
right?
hits him once, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Kristen Wiig is trying to punish that person, and like that is a very different motivation, right? You should feel differently about those things.
I don't know.
Sure, but I mean, he was still trying to rape her in both cases.
Oh yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm still like, yeah, go ahead. Like, and like when the guy, you know, the guy who says hi to Kristen Wiig and is like the one person who actually pays attention, is like, she's nice too.
He was homeless, right? Or was he
Yeah,
not homeless?
I believe so. I'm not sure.
I think it was
but,
suggested,
like,
but maybe not.
Yeah, he comes upon this scene. She should have been like, he tried to rape me and I kicked his ass. So
She's
we're all
like,
good.
"Mind
We're all
your
good
own
here.
business."
Yeah, like, and like it goes to her losing her humanity. But
Yep.
like there was a pretty easy way to like get him on your side on this one.
Yeah. Yeah. That all makes sense. Yeah, no, it just, you're right. Her whole motivation, I like, guys pay attention to you more. I wish they paid like, I don't know. It felt very I didn't think it felt great. And then there was this weird moment where like that guy, that TV evangelist came in, and it felt like she was getting attention and the guy was clearly had a motive and he was trying to do evil things, but Gal Gadot seemed like weirdly against him. Like right from the start, like wouldn't even smile, like nothing, just like
Are you
no.
talking about
Max
Max
Lord?
Lord?
Yeah, when she first meets him, and I was like,
Such
oh,
a
does
good
she like
name.
know him? You know, is she like aware of him? She's like, oh, I've never met you before in my life. I don't even have a TV. And it's like, so you just kind of walked in and the whole movie, you've been kind of just like normal. And like here you have like a stern, like angry, concerned face that you haven't had this whole movie, even though you've never met him before. And I was like, the only thing I can pull from this is that you want me almost to think that she's jealous of Kristen Wiig for getting attention. I'm like, is this the thing you're trying to tell me right now? Like, holy crap.
Oh,
Is Gal
I
Gadot
figured it was.
like, what? Like, so now she's jealous? Like, what is this? And I'm like, I know that's not what they're trying to do, but what else am I supposed to take away from a guy you've never met talking to Kristen Wiig and you just being like, okay, we got to go now? Like, I don't know. It just felt like, what? Show me that you know that you have a suspicion about him, that you think he's evil, but she doesn't do any of that. She just kind of like, you need to leave now, and that's it.
I mean, he comes off as pretty skeezy. All right.
But I don't
Kristen,
think they trusted the audience to know that he was a bad guy. I think they really wanted to lay into that and like make sure that the audience knew this is the bad guy because the good guy doesn't like her. Like
but
him,
like
rather.
it was, I didn't need that. I'm trying to put myself in Wonder Woman's character. It's like, what's your reason for, like I don't know. I think it did a really bad job of expressing that. And it was open to very, very easily open to other interpretation. Anyways. Okay, so they go. The rest of this plot gets really, really weird. They go to some of the country. He's getting all these oil people to give him all their stuff and taking stuff. He's feeling sicker and sicker. I don't know why he hasn't wished for just one person's health of like the hundreds he's met at this point. But then he takes the global satellite that can change everyone's screen. It's the recruit gimmick, right?
Well, I think we should talk about how, like, because we skipped over like Wonder Woman and Chris Pine or Steve, whatever his name is, going to Egypt, and like,
oh right,
and like them stealing a plane, like one that magically has enough fuel for a transatlantic flight and has the range for it. that like has its keys in it and is like pure, like, and Chris Pine, World War I pilot, somehow knows how to fly this thing because like he has the gift of flight.
No, it's intuitive.
And,
you can intuit how to fly.
Yeah, like, I pressed the wrong button, but like on my second try I got it right, so now I'm gonna take off.
Whoopsie daisy.
Okay,
yeah, and then,
him being blown away by seeing airplanes that can fly twice as far, twice as fast as ones he was used to really bothered me.
Yeah, like he looks up and sees a jet, and it's like, we already told you you're in the future. Like that seems iterative.
Yeah, it's an airplane, but faster. It's like if I went into the future, they're like, here's a computer. It's 10 billion times faster than the ones you're used to. I'm like, okay, does it do basically all the same things? Yes. Okay, cool that it's faster.
Yeah. Well, yeah. His like, being amazed by this aside, right? I think the other big problem is like they really wanted to work in her invisible plane. And so they like did this throwaway line of like, my dad could turn things invisible. I guess I could try that. And like then she just like turns it invisible in like 2 seconds. It's like, what?
Do we ever come back to the plane after that?
No, never. And they never used that power again.
Okay.
That's because they couldn't find it, just like the coffee cup.
Also, if you can lasso lightning bolts, why do you need a plane?
Or if you can fly, which I didn't know.
Well, she wasn't flying. She was pulling flying. Really hard.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
She was falling with style, Adam.
I have no problem with lassoing lightning bolts because that's very like Greek goddy fun.
Yeah, I was okay with that actually. I was
totally okay with that. Yeah. What I was bummed out actually is that they didn't just use the invisibility power again at some point. Like, just why not? Just use it again.
Will nailed it. I mean, there's nothing about Wonder Woman and invisibility outside of the invisible jet, and I don't even know how that factored into the comics. It's obviously dumb. But like,
I don't know either.
That fan service. They needed the fan
had
service.
An invisible jet. That's basically it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna rub my hands together. Second time in 50 years I could get this to work.
Yeah.
On a much bigger object while I'm losing my powers. Like that's where like the theming of losing her powers kept on coming in. It's like, oh, so it's like maybe it's not gonna work because like you're losing your powers, right? It's like, no, she can actually do something she's never been able to do before when she's losing her powers. It's like
she needed to, Jim. Radar.
So really losing her powers just means grazed by bullets? Like that's it? Slightly less strong, I guess? I don't know.
The previous comments about inconsistent powers. There.
Okay. All right. So and I didn't know jets like that. I thought that was like a fighter jet. And I didn't know they had 2 front seats like that. I thought that was kind of out of place, but I guess I did.
That's true too.
Yeah.
Side by side seats.
I mean, I kind of forgive all that.
Like whatever.
Whatever. That's like the least problematic part of this. The one thing that annoyed me is there's a bunch of shots where the camera is outside of the plane looking into the cockpit, but the plane is visible. I'm like, like, come on, like that's just lazy.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Did you want them just in a seated position flying through the air?
Yeah, like the cartoon.
I mean, that's literally what so it looks ridiculous, but yeah, that is
Also, they flew through a fireworks show. Like, what are
I
you
was just gonna
doing?
say that. I was just gonna say that. Like, did he think this thing was rated for that? Like, that I don't know. Not
Well, I
my
loved
first
how
choice.
did he not know what fireworks were? Because like I'm pretty sure these have been around for a while, buddy. Like I'm
Well,
pretty sure
it
you'd
wasn't.
seen a firework before 1984.
It wasn't that he didn't see fireworks before. It was just this throwaway line that it was the 4th of July, and that was the explanation for the fireworks because they just wanted to have a scene with them flying through fireworks.
Yeah,
They're
Right.
Like,
oh,
oh,
you
it's the 4th of
back-ended
July.
into that basically, right? Like you're like, okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Toads forgot it was the 4th of July. Like, just don't even explain it. Like, you don't need to. There's just a fireworks
You didn't
show.
need to at that point.
Whatever.
You're right. At that point I wouldn't have cared. I'm like, yeah, like people are celebrating, whatever.
Yeah,
It's
no,
That
DC.
probably would have been less awkward.
Yeah, the throwaway line was worse because now you're like, wait, why didn't I see anything else about it? About 4th of July.
I will say though that I immediately thought the same thing as Jim when he's like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Wait, what? I think fireworks have been around for a long time, dude."
Yeah. Yeah. And like, didn't they have rockets in World War One? Like the idea of something in the air going fast shouldn't have been like, whoa. Like did they do that? I don't know.
No.
Maybe rockets weren't until World War II.
What about the people down below? Because it was clearly cutting through the patterns of
Well,
the
yeah,
fireworks. Was
yeah.
anyone like, "What the fuck?"
I
was
have
that?"
my invisible plane that can only be seen when like it's disturbing things that shouldn't be disturbed. Let me fly through some fucking fireworks.
Yeah, I get it. They wanted to do a fun visual effect. I thought the visual effect there looked kind of cool, but it just felt very like you back ended in a lot to get that. It's like,
Well,
it wasn't
also,
earned.
I guess you're not really in a hurry to get to fucking Egypt.
No,
World doesn't need to be saved.
no.
Take this detour so you can go on your firework date with Wonder Woman.
Pretty sure he also
Yeah.
pulls the jet directly into like a vertical climb at one point. That struck me as strange.
All
Once
right,
again,
whatever.
probably the least of our
The
complaints.
jet
Yeah.
is it's a way to get somewhere to do the fan service.
Like it's like in a 3D movie where they like put stuff at the screen. It's just like we're gonna spend a bunch on FX and Yeah.
Adam's out there. He's like the thrust to weight ratio of.
I did
of an unladen swallow.
I did a frame by frame analysis, and I've concluded. Yeah. So
the closest plane to this was an F4 Phantom, and this did not have a thrust to weight ratio that could do a vertical ascent.
Not the fuel to do a transatlantic flight.
That one bothered me more. Like you just picked a random jet, knowing nothing about them, hoping
Yeah.
you wouldn't run out of gas. Like you don't even know how much fuel this thing takes. Like even if it was like, oh, we have 4,000 gallons of fuel on board. Like you don't know how much that is.
That's enough. Oh, that'll get you like one.
I'm sure the plane had that miles until empty that like cars have, right? I'm sure it was equipped.
No, just like in front of each of the planes, it had like need to go to England, take this one. Need to go to Morocco, take this one. Like okay, we'll take the Morocco one.
Yeah, you know what? At this point, I question the value of investing in aircraft carriers when you can just fly from the east coast of the United States to any place in the entire fucking world.
And
Yeah.
back.
So
Yes.
is that how they got back? I lost it. Did they get back through the
To be
plane?
honest, they never showed.
Yeah,
They never
just
showed it. They were
they-
just
Well,
back.
they did a while you got back fast line, and I was like,
Yeah.
all right, they're
She
back
was on the
fast. Like
phone.
plane, you can get from Egypt to DC in a day.
Oh, didn't
Like
she lasso? Didn't she storm lasso? Didn't she fly back using her
No,
superpowers? Or-
That's much later.
no,
what?
because she had Chris Pine with her.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought she left him to die in Egypt.
No, he
No,
came back.
they got back to talk to the Mayan Rastafarian guy.
And that's how they learned about the monkeys, Paul. Like he was around for a while. They went to the capital. They went
By
to
the way, like the
and I'm
Book of
sorry,
the
watching
Mayans.
this just after the Capitol was stormed, and I'm like, where are all the security guards? I'm like, you know what? Actually, kind of makes sense. There's not that many security guards. Like, this is actually believable.
I mean, they were
Them-
white, so
Them just walking right into
Yeah,
the White
like,
House.
Like in my mind, I'm like, should there be
Five
like
guys stopping them.
like 1,000 people that could just swarm this place? I'm like, actually, no. Turns out there can't. Like, this is probably the most believable part of this whole goddamn plot. So they take out like 4 people, which is apparently the entire White House security staff. And so I don't know if we talk about that, but they go to Egypt. What did they really learn? Like, what was the point of Egypt besides the guy going around and consuming oil places? Like, what was
they learned that the only road in Egypt is going to have both the villain and the protagonist driving past each other on it.
so they could have so it was just for the action sequence basically. Like I couldn't figure out what as far as the plot goes, he's getting more and more strong and he's creating more and more chaos. But that's it? And then there's an action sequence and they get away and that's it?
But so wait, so she says turn the car around. They drive up next to his car. They look at each other and he's like, get rid of them. Like why? Did he recognize the anthropologist from the Smithsonian? And he was like, definitely need to get rid of her right now.
Yeah.
What was that move? He was just like, we absolutely have to get rid of these people immediately. Like it's a guy I don't know. Some schlubby guy from DC.
Yeah, you like anything. You've been saying like, hey, pull over.
Literally a random dude. Literally a random.
Let's get dinner tonight. I am rich right now, and you're hot. Like, let's figure stuff out. Like
whether or not he recognized her, it was a bizarre reaction either way.
It's almost like he read the script ahead of time, and he's like, oh no, that's Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I mean that felt like a. It's been 40 minutes since our last action set
most
piece.
of the crowd has been falling asleep. We really got to get there.
This is like in D&D when we're all fed up with talking. We're like, all right, they just attack, roll initiative.
Yeah, got to roll some dice.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And then having the guy drive them and then paying the guy. It's like, why didn't you just pay the guy? And also, isn't that guy now in the middle of nowhere with that? I don't know. It's just like,
yeah, it feels like you wouldn't sell your car in the middle of the desert.
Right. Like once you've said, I'll sell it, you know what? You got to drive me back.
I'm not Egyptian. Maybe I'm making some assumptions about how sparsely populated that road would be. Maybe he's like, yeah, I'm going to get picked up in like 2 seconds and I have a whole bunch of cash.
And it's like there are rental car agencies in other countries. I feel like it also plays to this mindset that like, I don't know, like everything's got to have an aesthetic and it can't like, it has to be something else that couldn't possibly be American. And it can't.
This is the desert planet.
Yeah,
that was a fat stack, and there'd just been a convoy.
Oh, look at that! I'm an American with money.
Road.
Worship me. Here's some money. I get your stuff. I don't know. It felt very kind of America. It's like America's a big gigantic dick at the end of the day. Like that's how that whole scene felt. Like you're nothing to me. Here's some cash. Go away. I need your stuff. I don't know. I know I'm kind of like reading it, but like.
I don't know if I was rolling around with a stack that large.
Why didn't you just buy a car? Why didn't you say, "Hey, let me have your car"? Like, why did it even have to be in the scene?
No, because you didn't know you're going to need one.
Oh, okay.
Because you didn't know that you were going to drive on you were going to pass the villain.
Where were they going initially?
I totally don't.
Generic oil baron.
I think they knew that they were going to the oil.
Because of the magazine.
Guys. Yeah.
I
think they knew that.
Also, was it weird that a guy's top wish was his ancestral land? Like, is that a little awkward?
Well, I couldn't follow the logic at some point. It got very confusing to me, so I just kind of threw it out and said, "Whatever. This is all going to get like reset soon, anyways."
Giant wall showed up. Like,
but then he'd already sold his oil refineries, so then he screwed the guy. Like it was this like double ha ha ha. Your wish did you catch that?
Yeah, he's like fooled you. He's like, okay, well, I'll take your security team instead. We talked about this earlier, but I mean, I would have been pretty pissed about that. Like, no, you lost on a technicality. This is the way wishes work. You tried to screw me. I screwed you instead. That's your fault.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the guards in the White House because like he got them all. He got the president's staff to all just follow him. I thought that's what you meant by security.
No. I was talking about the oil guys' security team.
Oh yeah, he took their security team because he couldn't take their oil because the oil wasn't his. Yeah.
Yeah, but at no point was there like an exchange of. My problem before was there was just like no like discussion. It was just like I'm gonna leave with your security team, and they just all followed him.
But didn't he get his ancestors' land? Like, wasn't that also insanely valuable? Like, did he really lose out that much? I don't know. It
just looked like the city that he probably already lorded over because he had
but like all the reports were saying that like he was now the ruler of this area, and he was like, oh no, what have I done? It's like, dude, you just became a country. You just got your own country.
Well, I mean, but the idea is that like you're the owner of a country that is in a like clearly contested place, right? Because they were
chopped in half, and nobody inside of that country actually is like, oh yeah, this guy should be ruling us. It was like, oh well, technically it turns out this guy's the ruler now. Okay, great.
I kind of implied.
There's a giant wall that appeared. The whole idea is that like the country was going to fall apart like instantaneously, and that's what he said as Max was leaving. He's like, good luck, they're going to kill you.
Yeah, I guess I didn't follow that logic. Like, if you can make every other country immediately start to recognize you as a valid sovereign nation, wouldn't all the citizens inside also then agree that this is a valid sovereign nation? Like, how does it just go to the other? Like, it just felt like a weird.
I mean, you're living through
Yeah,
U.S.
no.
politics, and you think that the citizenship of a country is going to be on the same page as that?
Yeah,
Like,
Well, I think
like imagine
No,
imagine
my point is
When
that
magic
the
was involved.
magic, when the
Yeah.
magic got all of the other governments to immediately be like, oh, this is totally a country.
no, I didn't think
including
no, I didn't take it as the magic did that. I think I took it as like realpolitik did that. Like,
It
No, it
happened
was-
within like an
eh,
hour.
like-
yeah,
It happened within like
it
an
happened within
hour.
like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It was like,
Oh, did it?
Russia
Yeah,
acknowledges
yeah,
your
it's showing
sovereignty.
on the TV. Russia acknowledges America. You know, it's like what? Like all they just saw was a wall come up, and now they all just acknowledge it as fact. It's like, so wait, you can change all of these other people's minds, but like the people living there, they're going to be the ones that like magic didn't work on. I don't know. It just felt
and
like
Trump was clearly right. Walls do work.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
like like I think it is like that one actually made sense to me for the most part, because I imagine the way Wish is like, it's like, yeah, the UN says you're an official country, but like all of like individual people can do whatever. Like if all of a sudden on the 20th Trump was crowned president and instantly every country in the world was like, Trump is definitely president, and also all the black people were teleported out of the country, I think we would all probably have a big riot, right?
I guess.
Like that's kind of what I
Unless
Sure.
unless magic was telling us this is
right.
just the way
That's my
things
point.
are.
If magic could do all that,
I-
why
I-
would magic?
the magic is the teleport and every other country in the UN
Look,
being like, yes, this is
I'm gonna
totally
close it down.
legit.
The
We
guy
still have a
clearly-
civil war.
No. Let's be clear. I'm gonna basically say the guy could have made them all think that, but he was being punitive, so he decided not to, and like that's fine
Sure.
because it's all magic anyways. But like that's what So I the theme of like you're gonna suffer now. Yeah, you would probably set something like that up, sure. Although I would have maybe made all the other states think that like he was housing a bunch of terrorists and like played it that way.
Honestly, was that like security team of like 30 people going to protect him anyway?
I don't.
Like,
it doesn't
that was-
yet. Like
that was the
the plot clearly gets away from
They
them,
were
and,
really
and they
good.
very quickly do that like escalation out. So let's go to what I think is the end. The guy goes to the secret government facility where he can project everywhere, and he starts to project everywhere. And because I guess wishes now work remotely, they don't eat like the touching is clearly all gone at this point, right?
Well, the particles from the
particles,
satellites touch.
No, that was
That-
the.
Yeah,
that
that's
was
definitely what they
that's
said.
literally
Definitely
what he
was-
said.
All right. whatever.
Also,
It's dumb,
Wire-
but fine.
why are computer monitors displaying?
Yeah, the computer monitors can now display TV, which like, yeah,
Right.
no, like it goes.
Oh, you
Dude,
make a
it's
good
the same problem
point.
with like the Recruit. The idea that like all these things are like somehow all connected in any fashionable way, like it's a joke, but like whatever. Okay, so and back in the '80s, like
Ice Nine
Dude,
said it. is-
dude, the idea that the '80s was connected in any way, like I just anyways, like
Dude,
how, what
it's this is like a 5G conspiracy theory movie.
you think you can
It's-
hack someone's computers over a TV signal? Like, what are you talking about? I don't.
Like it's like enemy of the state. Like,
Wait, are TV signals with particles? Do we use particles for TV signals?
I d-
very
it
very
was
direct. We know where everybody's TVs are, and we just aim our particle guns in the sky at them.
dang. So he does this. Everyone starts wishing. They do a couple of like what's happening around the world. The girl, the wife wishes the guy would get kicked out. The guy wishes her dead. People want to
There's
be
cows in
lords.
DC.
Everyone's just wishing crazy ass shit, and it's all just happening at the same time, which is like just absolute chaos. Then there's the fight scene with Cheetah, which I always thought was like,
bad.
That
you know,
armor sucked.
so I guess
That armor
Max,
was dumb.
uh,
that
That
Max,
armor was dumb and it was ineffective.
yeah, and it didn't really. It just got her into a golden, boob suit or whatever, right? Just
Well,
really-
it was like a serious Chekhov's gun situation, right? When they showed it at the very beginning of the movie.
yes, and well, that's
Where
what you
you're
said.
like,
Where's
oh,
the callback? That was the callback.
No, what?
The entire armor bit could have been removed, and it would just
Yeah.
taken time out of the movie and changed nothing. It was so stupid.
I didn't care about the callback, but that was a callback to the beginning when they talk about the warrior that they'll go and praise, and then you find out later that she has the warrior's armor. Like, oh, they did a thing, and they
It
loop
was
back.
literally sitting in a corner. In
I
the
didn't
room.
care about it, but that was the statue.
Yeah, but also like she went to go find this person on Earth, and like all she could find was the armor. I'm like, how did you find the armor?
Yeah, I
Like
don't.
that. Why? Like that would have been taken. Like
Yeah.
that's if you couldn't find anything else, like you wouldn't have found the gigantic gold armor.
Right, but the rock she couldn't find. So
Also, you're ruining that armor. And
the
like,
armor got destroyed.
yeah,
didn't even
and
need
for,
the
for
armor
no
to
for no
fly.
for no reason.
I didn't under the armor felt like a thing that again they're like I want her in this armor. It's really really cool, and then they just didn't know to go with it. So
They probably thought they were going to sell more action figures.
it's true.
That's
Right.
actually probably what it was.
A lot more
except
costumes.
Unfortunately, it was released directly on HBO Max, and it was awful. So
Well, so actually I have a mild conspiracy theory about the HBO Max thing. This is their first big release on HBO Max, right?
it's very
Of like
unfortunate.
a theatrical thing.
Yes, it is the
I think maybe HBO is like, we're gonna release Wonder Woman. This shit should be direct to DVD anyway. Like this is fucking terrible. So let's just say we're releasing all our movies, and like if it works out, awesome. But like we could never release this thing in theaters either. Anyway,
this
'cause it's
would have definitely gone to the theaters
awful.
if
I think it would have done better in theaters.
Aquaman made it to the theaters. This can go to the theaters. Okay.
Yeah, obviously I'm being facetious, but this was like a direct to DVD quality movie.
No,
You know,
I'd say it's higher than that.
I might have to revisit it. Aquaman may have been better than this.
Aquaman was definitely better than this, and Aquaman was pretty terrible.
Aquaman was pretty bad. Yeah.
Any of you guys see Tenet, by the way?
No,
I mean,
no, yeah.
to be honest,
Well,
this
that would be a much more interesting movie to talk about. But go on.
if this is their ploy, Will, I think they made a major misstep because this is not the way to launch a new initiative on anything. This is really bad. Like all of a sudden, I'm like, what if Dune is just terrible? like, like there's so many other movies that are supposed to be coming out on the service now. I'm like, what if they're just all really bad? Oh God,
I can't imagine that Dune is going to be good.
no. Could it be worse than the David Lynch Dune?
I fucking love the David Lynch
All right,
Dune.
we're getting off topic. Let's finish this up. All right, we're getting off topic.
I just really hope that the Spice Girls are in it, and they do spice up your life.
Wait, were the Spice Girls in
So bad.
David
That's so
Lynch's
bad.
Dune?
No, but Sting was.
All right.
Oh, yeah, I know.
All right. So he does
Sorry.
his thing. Everyone starts
I'm
wishing.
gonna kill him.
Oh
That's
my God, Brian.
Jesus, Bride.
All right. So
Okay,
he does this thing.
Your mic does not
Crackled.
adjust. Yeah,
Yeah,
it does
cackled.
not adjust the audio very well.
Oh,
So
sorry.
So he's now taking things from all these remote wishes. He gave powers to what's her name, which is I think what added more transformation. He kind of did like a very quick throwaway line of how she got more strong. They do the fight sequence. Kind of underwhelming. They did the whole I don't want to hurt you, I don't want to kill you, but you're not going to die anyways thing. What kind of frustrated me. Like I thought like her dying would have at least added a little more weight, but they didn't want to kill her, so that was kind of a bummer. Because she was kind of a throwaway character anyways. Like she was the perfect person to kill. Gal Gadot goes to meet with him. There's like this weird force that's stopping her from doing anything. I don't know what those were. I guess he was just using
Wind.
wishes to like do things. I don't know. Like it's not really explained, but like he can't get to her. You know?
It was that wind. Every time somebody would make a wish, there was like a little breeze. But so many wishes.
Is that what that was? Is that what the
That was
representation
literally
was?
what that was.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
that
didn't
was
know.
definitely what it was.
Oh,
Okay, cool. I didn't catch that. I actually kind of
But-
like that then because there's
once
so many of them
again-
happening.
But once again, the special effects didn't really convince me that there was a wind pushing against her. It looked like she was just walking backwards. It was
Yeah. So she destroys the camera, but in order for him to continue to send a signal, he stands in this thing in the center, which I guess is the signal. I don't know. Like,
I don't know.
And this
He
is
wished that he was the camera now.
yeah, no, but so
Look at me. Look at me.
I look at that as like the movie Hackers talks about technology. It's like, okay, like sure, why not?
I thought it was the particle beam. And I got nothing.
that
So
she
Yeah.
could also talk through him through the rope, through the particle beam.
that was the bigger problem that I had. But like
That was a problem?
The kind of like I have the power to do this. Like you're assuming at this point he's like to some extent omnipotent.
Yeah,
Right.
I guess he was
So-
at that point, right? Like so many things he could take from people. So he can just do a whole lot, but he's just then when he jumps in there, I guess he's like in that I just want to consume more to be able to use later. Like he wasn't really focused on anything except just consumption. Like it was just, I want all the wishes. Like that was it, right? Because he's like, I can then use all of these things for things, and he was just consuming them, like bottling them up. Is that how you're reading it? I don't know. Like when he was standing in there.
It really seemed like he was gonna use up all his wish power. Like people, I felt like at a certain point, like he's not gonna have any more wishes, dude. You don't spend it all in one place.
I
you
don't
know?
even know if he was necessarily spending it. I thought he was just like giving it to him and then deciding later what he was going to take from them.
Just banking it.
Yeah, I don't. It's kind of vague, but whatever, right?
It was super vague.
Yeah, that part didn't like at that point. There were so many other problems with the movie that this was like, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah. So
I was so checked out at the finale. I had no idea what was going on.
Gal Gadot, I guess, couldn't pierce the wind, and was unable to. Not that would have necessarily helped anyway. So I understand that the giving up your wish. Oh right, she gave up her wish and killed her boyfriend right before this.
That I liked.
Yeah.
Also, why as a function of this device, like, does giving up your wish essentially just reverse everything? Like nothing ever happened.
I was expecting that to happen.
But no, but like all you have to do is give up your wish and then everything goes back to normal. Like what? That seems like you didn't really pay any price there. You just got to hang out with this awesome ability for a long time and then just put things back to normal.
If it had reset time in a weird way and was like, oh, this was like the It's a Wonderful Life, whatever, game you get to play, but like it was a kind of a mix because it reset some things but not others. Like missiles went away, but then things were trashed everywhere. It's like it didn't know what it wanted, right? Right? Like it didn't read memories. Like people definitely just launched nukes at each other. Sure, they evaporated, but like, wouldn't they both sides be freaking out that their nukes evaporated and are aggressively trying to find more nukes to like it didn't, it was like I thought like
because Gal Gadot just spoke the truth to them. So now
right, and everyone relinquished their wish. And all I could think when I thought her speech was so, I get that there was meant to be a good part, but it's like you're telling the entire world that there's no good reason to wish something, like, and then they went to a kid. They then played out the Max Powers life. I'm like, oh, now we're gonna get his backstory at minute 200. And we're going to do this so we can feel something for him because he has to go get good again. But like, even in playing that scene, they're like, oh, but like his dad would beat his mom. And then his dad would like shame him for peeing in his bed. I'm like, okay, but what if like there was a kid right now that wished his dad wouldn't beat his mom, and Gal Gadot's like, hey, you got to unwish that thing, man. We got to undo all this. Like, so that kid's supposed to unwish that? Like, it just felt so condescending that like, hey guys, you have it good enough. I don't know why you need these wishes. I don't know. I get the overall thing, but the fact that they made it so global and it wasn't targeted, it just felt so like patronizing and like obviously not true, like, hey, the world's really a good place. Yeah, for a bunch of people. And then for a bunch of people, it's hell on earth. And maybe they got a wish that, like, legitimately, whatever you could have taken from them was meaningless. Like, unless it was their life, they were going to be strictly better off in that moment. And you're telling them, no, because a bunch of assholes wished like nuclear war. You got to give, like, it just, I don't know. It just felt, it just kind of didn't ring well with me. That's all.
Max Lord's kid didn't relinquish his wish.
That his dad wouldn't be an asshole.
Yeah, I didn't even know what his wish did. He just said, I wish you'd be successful. And it was like, what did that mean?
Greatness. Didn't he wish for his greatness or something?
Yeah, but like he was going to, like, was he not going to get it before that? Like that wish didn't understand. That didn't make sense to me. I didn't know how they quantified that.
It's funny. You were talking about everything not resetting, like most things resetting, but not everything. You know what the thing that bugged me out was? Max Lord's kid was like on a highway watching nuclear launches go off, and then he suddenly walked out of the woods. And I was like, who fucking put him in the woods? It was really,
I just assume he just kept
I don't know. It was really odd to me. Everything with that kid.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. Like Will said, everything with that kid threw me off.
I mean, there's zero chance every person on Earth gave up their wish, right? We all agree with that.
Well, it's just so, and it's so, again, it's condescending. It's whatever it is that like that
guess
like she gave that speech like to a targeted group of people in a circumstance that we can very clearly see, you know, like I'm going to convince a bunch of people who have a ton of money who just wanted more and they were fine before to go back and like don't focus on the money. But like the way they did it this global way just felt like it's a big FU to people. I don't know.
To be clear, if Wonder Woman was able to convince everybody on Earth to give back their wishes, that's now her best superpower.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
the power of persuasion is the best superpower she has.
if I
Fair
were to
enough.
be,
Fair
if I
enough.
were to be charitable, then it's like, well, the lasso plus her talking, like she literally just explained the straight up truth, which is, if you keep your wish, everything's going to be terrible. So give it up, or things will be worse. And it's like, okay, sure, magic, whatever. But like the speech was shitty, and it went on too long, and it didn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah. And it was
I
too
thought
large
the-
of a scale. That's my problem.
I thought the lasso was supposed to make other people tell the truth instead of making them see the truth. But I guess whatever.
Whatever. It's
truth.
truthy.
It's the embodiment of truth. So
I mean-
like whatever. Add it to anything, and therefore it equals truth stuff. Whatever.
I thought the most impressive part of that lasso was like the like Monkey King staff aspect of it, where it was exactly as long as it always needed to be. Like that thing could whip like a quarter mile away, and it just, I don't know, that was
I was
weird.
fine with that. Like it could
The
do
Thor's
whatever it
hammer
wanted.
stuff wasn't working for me. There's no weight to a rope.
Oh
Like,
yeah, they kind of like, how is she gonna fly? I'm like, don't whip it and just shoot it forward. Don't whip it, and they're like, yeah, well, that's what we're doing. It's like, all right.
I mean, that was, yeah, her flying much
The
in the way
propeller
Thor
was
does.
at least decent. Like when she just spun it around like a propeller, I was like,
But
all right, I'm
but I
okay
thought-
with that part.
But I thought she was doing it like Jim said, like where she was like spinning like Thor's hammer, and like the weight was supposed to drag her.
No,
I
she,
didn't
like,
think she was
she just
Spun
propellering.
it forward, and it somehow caught in like its momentum or something, and then she pulled forward from it. I don't know.
Yeah, she did both.
Okay, she did
Yeah.
both.
Yeah, and then she
Okay.
rode lightning bolts. So
Yeah, I mean, Thor doesn't ride lightning bolts, and Thor doesn't have a helmet and all that. You know, whatever. It's not like, you know, this person wasn't inspired by that, but whatever. I mean, I don't know who really inspired by who, but there's just like a ton of commonality between these two. Oh, I guess.
like that-
Sorry.
I was gonna say I like that Barbara actually acknowledged that, or somebody at some point acknowledged that she's Wonder Woman because she doesn't wear a fucking mask. I think it was Barbara where she was just like, oh yeah,
Okay, so I have a question here, and I don't know if this is explained in the comics or this is not even a big deal. I guess anything I'm going to say at this point is very nitpicky, but like this whole truth thing, but then asking every person to ever meet her, it's our little secret. Like, aren't you asking someone to lie? Like, isn't that like in direct contradiction?
That's not a nitpick. That's actually kind of funny.
Like,
Yeah.
she would save somebody to be like, shh, don't
Is
tell
it-
anyone. It's like, so if they ask me what just happened, you want me to do what exactly?
well, Jim. Now the question is an omission a lie?
Yeah, I guess this
Yes.
lasso has a pretty strict
superhero
definition of what truth is. A very narrow definition of truth.
If I want to nitpick, she blew up all the security cameras after she was on them.
Yeah, that was like another one. I'm like,
There you
so,
There's that's a nitpick.
or maybe the second time she threw a crown, everyone was like ready for it. I was like, what? What did they watch the mall footage? How did they know to duck? It didn't do anything. I don't know. All right,
All right.
so this
I
mess,
think it's about wrap up time.
this movie was a mess. It was all over the place. I you know. it was
I
2.5
think
hours long.
I think a fun like hour and a half movie could be gleaned from this movie. But I like there's a couple of, I mean, some of the problematic, I hate that word, but aspects that we've kind of talked about are just anchors that weigh it down. I think there's some fun parts and some good things, but you know.
Yeah, I like the Max Lord character at times. I thought he was a fun actor. I thought like he added, like when he was going, it started to feel more honestly fun and Marvel-ish. You know, like, oh, we're gonna like really
was
just
seeing the
enjoy
scenery.
this like character. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we're just gonna have a fun ride with this guy. But then it just kind of, and then it did the DC I gotta be serious thing. You're like, oh no, you know, like, all right.
yeah, I really thought that they were going to, when I kind of heard the movie was going to be set in '84, I thought that they were going to go the same direction that like Thor Ragnarok did.
Yeah.
With this like, kind of like ridiculously over the top, colorful, like really direct change in tone of the movies.
It certainly felt like the advertisers wanted you to think that.
Yeah. And I think that's a missed opportunity for them. Maybe that's just because I really like Thor Ragnarok, but
DC DC seems incapable of having fun. I don't know why, but they seem like fun means not good. Batman ruined it all. Let's just be honest. Batman ruined it all. All right. You can't be in a Batman universe and be fun and like laugh. Like he's the problem.
I don't
actually,
think that's true.
Shazam. Shazam is the counterpoint to this whole discussion because Shazam is actually a ton of fun, is DC, and is grounded in that universe. Shazam is your Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, he's actually a good point.
I heard Shazam was pretty good.
Shazam.
It's not
fun.
Thor Ragnarok, but it is like a refreshing change, and it's got some move moments for sure.
It's enjoyable. I mean, I'm not going to say it is high art, but it is definitely that's the movie we should have watched and talked about because that was a fun movie.
Well, I want to do something kind of new. All right, so we'll figure out a movie for next time. I don't think I'm gonna, unless you guys have one right now you want to say. We'll figure it out on the thing and maybe do another one of these in a few weeks. Does anyone have any suggestions for like? I want to keep one new, and maybe if we can stick to another like one that we all had a generally positive feeling for. I still expect to have that generally positive feeling when I watch a lot of those old movies again. But if we want to do one new and one old, that'd be fun.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, so I think an interesting thing to do would be to kind of tackle two movies that are in the same genre,
Sure.
like that are thematically similar, or at least in tone similar, and see how the genre has improved or devolved in that time. Does the old one hold up? Is as good as we remember it is? And has this like improved on it in a meaningful way?
Do you want to do one of those? The first came out 30 years ago, and then they did a sequel.
I don't think it has to be that direct.
Okay,
but I don't know. We could talk about it outside.
Yeah, we could talk about it.
All right. Well, I guess this is all. I've talked a lot. Anyone have any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Well, like what did everybody think was a good, like what was the enjoyable part of Wonder Woman for you?
First 5 minutes, the race in Themyscira.
I got really excited when I thought they were going to let Kristen Wiig kind of really open up as a character. Like I thought that was really going to be like a fun. I think she's very, very funny and talented, and so I had excitement around thinking that, hoping that, I guess. I don't know. I like Max Lord. I thought he had some like great, like big boss villain kind of like moments. I'm like, yeah, like, I thought like he really like jumped into it and kind of realized it was like a comic book villain. I don't know. I like that, right? I'm seeing a comic book movie. So
there were like parts everywhere that I enjoyed, but then there was just too much movie filled, like padding around it, right? Like that's like I basically gave my summary before of like I wish it was only an hour and a half long. That would have been so much better.
Yep.
I love Wishes. I love Evil Genie Wishes. That was super fun. I liked Kristen Wiig or whatever her name is character a bunch, but also I wish there was more of that. And then Chris Pine just deleted from the movie would have been nice, because it just like having her just pine after like, oh, I'm a female, therefore the person like that I lost is my entire mode. Like just lose all of that 100%, and that would have been better. Like two villains, there were like almost three. He was like the third one, right? Like the three.
No.
Like foils to the hero or whatever, right? Like just lose him completely.
Will?
I thought that there were a couple of good throwaway lines that I laughed at. Having a hard time remembering, but I was like, oh, that was legitimately clever. That was funny. The wish mechanic had interesting possibilities. So yeah, that could have gone well. And I give them credit for trying to make that interesting. Yeah, failing, but trying to make it interesting. I think my big takeaway here is that I don't want Gal Gadot to be an actress anymore, because she was terrible in this movie. And I don't think she was very good in the first one. And I think the Wonder Woman as a franchise would be better, like having a more dynamic actress
Lucy Lawless.
playing Wonder Woman. Yeah, I mean, we didn't complain about her at all during the last 2 hours, so it feels a little out of left field. But there were like a bunch of times where her acting was just so bad.
The speech she delivered
was definitely bad.
Anytime she was given silence to just own a scene with nothing, it became very apparent. You're right.
Can I say I actually liked Max Lord early on when he was like a snake oil salesman better than I did wish granting Max Lord.
Yeah, no.
I thought he was much more fun as just this kind of sleazy, like, I don't know,
like Lex Luthor. Like he was like Superman 1, like, you know,
more
Gene Hackman Lex Luthor. Like that's what he felt like to me.
Sure.
The early years before he made all his money, before he schemed everyone out of their money, he was like at the end of his rope with all the scheming, and then like getting a break.
Yeah, stealing a hair and making a clone.
Two missiles. So not even you, Superman, can do this with all your speed. I'm not just gonna quote that whole skit. That was a really funny skit. All right. So we'll wrap it up. Okay. So overall, do we want to give a score, or just like an up or down? What do you guys like?
I mean, I would give this like a 2 out of 10.
2 out of 10.
that sounds like a generous score.
Like this
Pretty
this goes in my list of things I will never ever rewatch.
Oh yeah, but that was pretty big for me. But
I
0 or 4.
yeah, I watch a lot of movies, and I don't mind rewatching movies. Yeah, this one I would never.
Yeah, I would maybe put it like a 3 or maybe a 4, but the fact it's 2.5 hours means it's like a 1 or 2. Like this was hard. This was hard.
I never turn movies off halfway through and then go back to finish them. Like I said earlier, the only reason I went back to finish it is because of this podcast. That's how, like, I am not that person either. Like, I will watch some real garbage. This was pretty rough.
All right. Well, I like Will's idea a lot. Let's find 2 movies, same genre or theme or whatever. And maybe we'll be really excited to talk about at least one of them next time. Okay, guys, it was a lot of fun, and first episode of several people are watching. So here's to 2021 of hopefully more good movies than bad.
To Jim's podcast empire with
we're branching out, man. We're reaching more audience now.
I really want to know if you're New Zealand subscriber.
If you're from New Zealand and you catch this podcast,
yeah, subscribes to this one too.
Please reach out.
Man,
Curious to think what your thoughts are. Okay.
let us know if you enjoyed Wonder Woman 1982.
Like, subscribe, and please don't forget to hit the bell icon.
Yeah. All right. Guys.
Have you ever hit the bell icon for anything?
No.
Never.
No.
One channel.
Never. Don't ever hit the bell icon.
Even channels that I know I'm gonna watch every single video they release, I still don't hit it. I don't know why. I'm just.
I don't need to know you released it now. Like, the whole point of YouTube is that I can go watch it at my convenience.
Are we done with the recorded portion of this?
No. Do you want me to end it now?
Yeah, Adam's I got some shit to say.
Oh no!
Right.
I was just gonna say I think perhaps in the future we should go away from the summary portion of this and just get into the discussion, because I think it'll be more fun. And I mean, honestly, nobody could have. If you didn't watch the movie, the summary probably didn't help all that much the way we did it.
Yeah, plot synopsis not the best.
It does help move things along, at least. I think it should be a backup, not a primary.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm always worried that we're going to jump in somewhere like hyper specific and then
But maybe that's our.
That's what the people want. That's what the people want. Jim.
all right. How about this? How about I'll dedicate to like a 2-minute plot summary with no interruption where I just very vaguely outline the whole movie. That'll at least
I don't believe any of us are capable of talking for 2 minutes straight without being interrupted.
All right, a 30-second plot summary. How about that? A 30-second plot summary. Here it is. Ready?
Jim, you have the mute button, by the way. Like you can just mute us all.
It's 1984. Gal Gadot is around. She wishes
Too long already.
her ex-lover back. A bad guy gets it and turns into the wish thing. Bad things happen. Kristen Wiig becomes bad, and then everyone unwishes at the end.
You should just read the description provided by the streaming service or the back of the DVD.
Or just go on Wikipedia and look up the plot synopsis and just read the plot synopsis.
All right. I will read the plot synopsis.
To be perfectly fair, I actually kind of enjoyed that. And if we started with everybody doing their 30-second blurb,
It's actually really funny.
I think
like
that's
that
actually
idea
fun.
a lot.
No comparing notes. Just do it.
Yeah, no reading the plot synopsis. Give us your 30-second plot synopsis of the movie.
Man possesses man. Man becomes wishing stone. Woman becomes Catwoman.
What's that like that test of like whether or not a movie has like women
Bechdel.
Yeah, like just barely eking by on this one, right? Like all Wonder Woman talks about is how much she loves Scott or Steve.
I don't know if I think they have a scene where they talk to one another about something else, which I think is the whole test.
Yeah, all right. Just like I said, eking by, just barely.
Yes.
I think they only talk about how Gal Gadot must go on tons of dates.
Right, yeah, like man, you must be great with all the boys.
You walk really well in high heels.
Yeah, you seem like the type of person who goes out all the time.
And then you're like, no, but then the one time she goes out, she's wearing like the fanciest look at me dress you could possibly imagine.
But
like,
by the way, what the fuck were those rompers Gal Gadot was wearing throughout the whole movie? Those were like really bizarre.
Well, so what Megan said is like bullshit. That's not from 1984.
yeah,
It isn't, but I don't know. Maybe I know nothing about fashion or style because that was distracting and bizarre. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did you notice the fashion sequence that Chris Pine did, where he didn't end up like wearing any of that? He just like they just went to like
Also,
a normal outfit when they left. It was just like, what was even the point? Yeah, that was like, hey, Chris Pine, you can be funny, right? And it's like you knew he was trying, and I was kind of like getting into it a little bit, and then it just didn't go anywhere.
They did a fanny pack joke, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
but
did
then,
lots
like-
of fanny pack jokes.
But and then that was it.
Actually,
It would've
the
been
guy at
funny
the
one
end-
point if like he had something stored in there or I don't know, something like.
What- Yeah.
Yeah.
What's funny is the guy.
Good.
The guy at the end when
Yes.
he's like this, but it works, right? I was like, that's the most charisma anybody in this fucking movie has had, in 2.5 hours. Where has this guy been?
Yeah.
The trying on clothes scene felt like checking the boxes of what you're supposed to do to make a scene like that work, but it didn't.
Fish out of water. Oh.
It felt like robots or aliens showing me it.
Oh no, they had a funny throwaway line there that I liked. He's like, parachute pants? What is everyone parachuting now? I thought I laughed at that.
That was funny.
Okay. I was like, okay, all right.
was
That's pretty
kinda
good. Like you're a pilot, like, okay. All right, that played.
That worked.
Yeah, I like that line. All right. I'm ending it now. And we will
Wait, I thought you already ended it. Oh no.
thank you, Brian. All right. I'm gonna call have a good night, guys.